I'd like to start by saying thank you for coming. I'm super excited. This is the first webinar I've done for Emporia State University, and I'm super glad to be here. My name is Kiersten Kerr. I am a teacher librarian from Coeur d'Alene High School in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. I have been a school librarian for 14 years. I have had the unique opportunity to work in both elementary and high school library settings. So that gives me kind of a unique perspective that I'm pretty excited about. And I love both. I love both. So I would be happy to teach at either an elementary or a high school library. I'd like to introduce Denise Neujahr. And she's the district young adult librarian for the Community Library Network here in my local community. And I've asked her to be here because we personally partner together for my school and her community library. So she's been a wealth of information in helping me prepare for this presentation. So today, we're going to talk just a little bit about school and public library partnerships, but I'm going to speak from a different perspective. I'm going to speak on behalf of school libraries. And while I was researching and while we were sort of brainstorming topics, I found that a lot of the presentations that I've been to and that I've seen are all from the public library's perspective. And so I always just want to make sure that our school librarians know what an amazing partnership and all the benefits that there are to getting out there and reaching out to your public librarians and creating a partnership and a collaboration. There's so many benefits to our students. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk a little bit about why it's important. We're going to talk a little bit about what some of the barriers might be for you public librarians out there. I'm going to try to share some of the reasons that I think sometimes school librarians are a little bit nervous to reach out to you so that maybe you can make it easier for them. And then some ideas that I've seen and done personally to have a great partnership with all of our libraries. So I'm going to try to leave some discussion time and question time at the end. So I'll watch that time. And if you have questions or you need anything or you want to add anything to the conversation, I am completely fine with that. You can just unmute and turn your camera on and I will hopefully be able to see you and then you can add to the conversation. So if you're not talking, I would ask that if you're would please mute your microphones just so that we don't have the background noise. So, so here's what I found while I was preparing for this presentation. We, Becca and Dr. Zhang and I all kind of collaborated on what kinds of topics would be useful for school librarians and what kinds of things could we talk about. And one of the big things that especially for them was the school library and public library partnerships. And we all talk about it, but for some reason we often have a hard time making that happen. And so I found a lot of webinars, but they were almost all from the perspective of the public librarian. And so that was something that I decided to reach out to my school librarian friends and my public librarian friends to just find out a little bit more so that I could speak on behalf of school librarians. I also was able to get a lot of information from Jeannie Standall, and she is our public library, or I'm sorry, our school library consultant for our Idaho State Library Agency, which is called the Idaho Commission for Libraries. Almost every state in the United States has some kind of a state agency, whether it be a state library or a state agency that provides support and resources and professional development for school and public libraries, and they are a wealth of information. So she gave me some documents, gave me some ideas, and that was also very helpful. So I encourage you to reach out to your state agencies or your state libraries for information. They're a huge help. And our organization has summer summits and all kinds of things geared directly for school librarians, but that are helpful for both. So Why, I guess the first thing I want to start with is why do we want to partner with our two libraries? Why should school libraries and why should public libraries come together and collaborate? And there's a whole bunch of reasons. We are trying to reach the same people. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now because we can follow along with this. So just give me a second. And I almost forgot to share my screen with my presentation. So now you guys should be able to see my screen and I will present. So I'm sorry, I got a little behind. Oops, let me go back to the beginning. I'm on slide 5. Sorry about that, you guys. I'm going to start back at the beginning. So this is me and this is Denise. I'm sorry, I got a little ahead of myself. And so here we are back to our beginning. We serve the same group. We offer the same programs, we have the same goals, so why are we not partnering more often with our local public libraries? I think that's a really good question. And in the 14 years that I have worked as a school librarian, even I am not great about reaching out and forming that collaboration. I have done it in little spurts, but while preparing for this, it reminded me of all the great things that we can accomplish together. So some of the reasons and some of the benefits of working together is we are trying to reach the same people. We are we are reaching the same either elementary age kids or the same high school level kids. And we often have the same programs. We're working on a lot of the same things to engage our teens and our elementary students. And we're all trying to find things to engage them. And so we have great ideas, so we need to collaborate on those ideas. We have the same goal of helping our students get what they need so that they can be well informed. And we have resources, the public library has resources, but we all have the same goal of trying to get those resources into those kids' hands. And we also, from a school library perspective, it's important to us. We believe in the power of libraries. And so it's important to us that our students know all the resources that they're going to be able to access once they graduate from high school, whether they go on to a college or an academic library setting, or whether they go out into the workforce. In all the presentations that I do in my classes, I always remind them, the things that you can get here at the school library are all available to you outside at your community library. And so it's important that our students know that resource is out there for them. So by collaborating, they get to know both of us. We are always striving for improved literacy. I think clearly that's a goal for all of us, and especially with our younger kids and summer reading, and trying to make sure that we don't lose that gap or increase that gap between one grade to the next over the summer. So literacy issues are always a huge benefit of collaborating together. And so we want to make sure that our students have access to the public library resources over the summer. And even especially in this time of COVID, when they haven't been able to come into the school, the public libraries have been more important than ever. So it's important to us that they know that. And finally, in one of the presentations that I looked at, we want to bring our communities together. We are seeing a huge divide out there in just American communities and society. And we want to bring everyone together. We want them to have different views, but still respectful dialogue. And so the more we can connect different groups, different schools, different community libraries, different age groups, the better our communities will be and the stronger our communities will be. So I read about a really great strong connection in one of my, while I was preparing, that I'll share with you in a little while. So one of the things that I thought about is from a school library perspective, and I saw that there's a lot of public libraries that are out here watching right now. And so I wanted to find out what are some of the reasons that a school librarian might be hesitant in not reaching out to a public librarian. Or even one of the public libraries that I spoke to said that she doesn't feel like she can even get in the door at the school. And so from my perspective and from those of my colleagues, I found that for the biggest reason is probably that they feel like they are just too busy to connect. They are teaching classes all day long. And I have 1,400 kids in my school. I have 200 kids that come through the library, 200 to 250. I did a little survey for a few weeks just to see. I have about 200 to 250 kids that come and go from my library that just need things. And so we are running all day. So I think that often we struggle with just trying to find the time to make a new connection. We're also too busy to plan. And so we are, I think that many of us feel like we're just struggling to keep up and we're barely able to get the things done that we know we have to get done. So trying to sit down and make a plan can just feel overwhelming for school librarians. So that's something that we want to take into consideration. Sometimes I think that school librarians feel like they lose a little bit of control when their community or public library counterparts and colleagues come into their building, and they feel like they have to be there and they have to almost micromanage. And so that's one thing that we'll talk about, is maybe letting go of a little bit of that control and letting our professional public libraries get in and work with our kids. It will help instead of hurt. And they feel like, I think this was a big thing for me when I was in elementary school. I told one of the librarians from one of our community libraries, when we were meeting talking about this presentation, I said that my public library counterparts would come in and say, can we do an assembly for summer reading? And I didn't think I could make that assembly happen. I felt like it was too big of a step and that my school would not be on board with that. So instead of saying, gosh, I don't know if I can do something quite that big, but hey, let's start small and see if we can build up. I think that sometimes we get intimidated, and so therefore we just don't even make that connection. And so that's something that I think we would like to see, that we like to try to fix. So so we have common goals. We definitely have common goals. We serve the same children. We want to engage our students. I think that both public libraries and school libraries are continuously trying to think of ideas in their school and in their libraries to get the kids involved, to get them out of their shell, to do things that they enjoy, whether it be an anime club or more of a social club or more of a maker club or a book club, or there's so many things, technology ideas, and just so many things that we have. And we have all these great ideas. So we're all trying to do the same thing. So definitely a big common goal. We want to improve literacy. I think that that's huge for us. We want our kids to read. We want them to branch out, try new things. We want them to not fall behind and to curricularly be with their peers. And so libraries play a huge part in that, both school and public. So that's important to us also. We want to support learning. For us, it's, of course, we are right here in the schools supporting learning. But as I was meeting with my public library counterparts, they said that they have just as big of a goal of supporting our learning, to support our curriculum. They want to help us get what our kids need in their hands for their schoolwork, for their research papers, and for everything they have to do for school. Sometimes they just don't know what that is. So that partnership would come in very handy. So extracurricular programs. A lot of our kids come to school and then they go home and then they're stuck at home. They don't have a way to get out, and they don't belong to soccer clubs, and they don't get to do outside things. So the more we can provide that for them in both school libraries and public libraries, the better that our kids will be for that. And so that's something that's definitely a common goal for both of our groups. We want to make individual connections. That's a really, really, really important for me. every day. I have kids come in. I want to know their names. I want to know their stories. I want to know where they're struggling. I want to know what great things happened in their life. And I know that our public librarians want that too. So we just have to figure out how to do that together to make it happen. And the kids are absolutely better because of that connection and having someone that they can connect to that knows their life and that takes a personal interest in them. So that's a common goal for all of us. We want to provide emotional support. I know that all of you have probably had exactly the same experience of having a student come in, and we each have our own story. My story is the student who came in who was a senior and was going to lose his public assistance, his financial public assistance, and he didn't know what to do. He didn't know where to go. So we helped him get in touch with the right organizations. We helped him get in touch with someone who could help him find a place to live. We help students get food. We help students with earbuds when they need them. I mean, which doesn't seem like an emotional support, but in our day and age, when one of the kids loses the ability to be able to connect with their music and the things that calm them, it is definitely something that is a type of emotional support. And I know that our public libraries try to provide that emotional support for kids of all ages and adults. So we feel like that's a big common goal. So what are the benefits of partnering with public libraries? So for my school librarian friends out there, I don't know that we really understand how much our school library or our public library friends can help us. And so we are lucky enough to have a collection, and we're lucky to have a space, and we're lucky to get grants through our state agencies and sometimes book fairs to help us earn money. But the public libraries often, not always, but often have access to other things. So they can, well, first of all, they want to partner with us. I was really surprised by that. When I met with my public library friends here in my community, they were adamant that they have meetings to try to figure out what can we do to support our local schools. I didn't know that. I didn't know that they were doing that. And they, of course, reach out to me, but I'm always so busy that I'm not always able to respond thoughtfully. And so it made me feel really good to hear that they want to partner with us. They want to help us. They want to help us do better things for our kids, and they want to support us. And so they often have access to more resources than we do. And again, that's not always, but when Denise and I, we recently started in our school a Vikings for Diversity and Inclusion Club. And it's just getting going. And so I reached out to my public library partners and said, what do you guys think? And have you had experience with this, with your teens that are coming into your library? And how can we work together? And so Denise has attended every single one of our school meetings. And our first project is to create buttons that say whether a teacher is an ally for students who are nervous about talking to teachers about something that maybe makes them feel different. And so Denise reached out and said, I have a button maker. You guys design the buttons and I'll make it for you. And so she's making the buttons and she's bringing them to our school. So that's a perfect example of she has the resources and she's able to do that for us. And we don't have those resources, and it's going to make a huge impact on our school. So they often have access to grants, usually a little bigger budget to purchase books to support their collections, and even some things that they can do for extracurricular, 3D printers and things like that they can share with our schools. And so that was huge for us, and it was huge for our kids. And as we did that as a group together with our kids and Denise and me and the teacher advisor, and it worked out great. So not always, again, but for the most part, in my research, our public librarians have a little bit more flexibility. And so, whereas I cannot leave my school at 11 o'clock on Tuesday morning because I have classes and kids coming and going, and I am I am tied to my school building during my workday for the most part. My public library colleagues have said that they are happy to come to my school and work with me here. And so that has made all the difference in the world for me to be able to collaborate with them because they are willing to come to me. And I know that not all public librarians have a lot of time because they have their own programs and they have their own things that they're trying to make happen. But I have found that they are very flexible and they have been really positive in helping me find a time that will work for me so that I can try to provide more for my kids. So, and then finally, public librarians have great ideas for connecting with students, some ideas that I had not thought of, and they want to make it easy for the students to have access to books and services. And so when we were collaborating on this meeting and we were talking about what kinds of things could public librarians and school librarians collaborate on, one of the big things is that, especially for my nonfiction, I just don't have a lot. We use our Lily database for subscription databases, but the library the two libraries in our community, and we have more than one, they have so many more resources than our school has. And they're willing to check that book out for that student over the phone or put it on hold, which I can show them how to do. And then they're even willing to bring that book over to me. And that's the first step in some really exciting types of partnerships where we can courier books back and forth. Maybe we haven't gotten there yet, but I am willing to drive to my public library and pick up a book for a student. And so during senior projects and times when our students are doing research papers, a lot of times I don't have what they need, but the public libraries do. And so having that connection and being able to call someone on the phone and say, hey, Denise, I need this for a student. He's working on how music affects the brain. And that she has been amazing and said, yeah, let me pull what I have. We get them a library card. And even if they can't physically get to the library, we can get those books in their hands. So we have that with all kinds of things. The buttons, we have it with books, we have it with services, we have it with book clubs. And so there's so many things that the public libraries have that could benefit us as school libraries. So I want to get into a little bit of, actually, I think before we talk about how can we do, I'm going to stop my screen share for just a minute. Does anybody have any questions or anything they want to add on benefits or some of the reasons that school librarians might be hesitant to reach out to the public libraries? Please just feel free to unmute and give me your thoughts.
Kiersten, I had a question. Thanks so much. First of all, this is such a wonderful presentation.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Yes. I'm wondering if public libraries have a budget, like if they do come to your school to do an assembly or some sort of presentation, is that like something that they're prepared to sort of make time for it with their costs, or should the public school sort of say, if we're going to have a visiting librarian, we need to be prepared to pay for that person's time?
I'm going to let Denise answer that. Do you mind, Denise?
No, not at all. Absolutely. So we actually, as public librarians, have in our budget to do outreach to our communities, including schools, organizations. So our libraries pay for us to do that. So schools will never have to pay for any service that we provide. I'm pretty sure that is standard. I have not met any librarians from anywhere, public libraries that would do that. So schools, and anything we bring is free. Sometimes we can provide free books for your students to keep forever, to take home, STEM activities. It's all things that we can provide for no cost. But that is an excellent question, because I know budget is a huge thing. I just wanted to throw out a few other things, if that's okay, that we, libraries can also provide for the schools. We have participated in family nights. Sometimes the schools have like no tech night or family nights. And so we're happy to bring, STEM activities or things that we can give to families, whether it be pencils or free books or anything. We are just happy to be there to support you. We also have a plan to provide book bundles on different subjects or a variety of things for teachers, and we'll just drop them off. We have done book clubs and presentations at lunchtime. We've done after school programs. We also do before school if you have a late start day. We're really flexible. I know that not all public librarians have a ton of hours in their day, but there's always a chance for at least to reach out, even if it's just once a month or once a quarter. I feel like the most successful relationships that we see with students that come into the public libraries, having that connection with their community and involvement and having that safe space, are the students that come from schools where we have strong partnerships with the school librarians. I'm pretty sure it's not a coincidence. I know that those school librarians really push, our services. And so we see more of those students, which is amazing. And, we've even done like pancake breakfasts for, some of the like alternative high school. We made pancakes for them and we shared our databases, and just anything. It's just thinking outside that box. We can pretty much bring whatever. And, I do understand public libraries have different budgets as well, but there's something we can do for you. So please reach out.
Does anybody else have any questions or anything to add before we go on? The next thing we're going to talk about is how we can do a better job of making this work, but I would love anyone's thoughts before we move on.
There is something in the chat, Ms. Kiersten. It says, our library decided to offer online access to a new digital subscription to our school district. The link is placed on the student iPad and can be accessed without passwords, which is awesome. And then, do you share refreshments and other snack responsibilities? So when I know food is huge, especially for teens, that's how we get them a lot of times. And I'm okay with that. I too love food. But we would always do a book club at this particular high school every month. And I would always bring the snacks. So we did pay for the snacks every month for the kids. So if your public library has that in their budget, by all means, we are happy to do that. So.
Wonderful. Thank you, Denise. Now you see why we have such a great relationship, because she's amazing. So, as are the librarians at our other community libraries here in town. So, anyone else before I move on? Okay. So feel free, if you want, you can just write me a little note in the chat. I'm trying to watch that, and Denise is helping me watch for that as well. So feel free to jump in there if you have anything else. So I'm going to share my screen again, because let's see, share screen. Okay, so we're back again. And so we want our students, I put this on here because I think it's really important. I have been really working to make sure that our students understand the importance of their public library. And I haven't always been because I am, like every school librarian, busy all the time, as you all are, as everybody is. And so I'm not always as good as I should be, but I want every one of our students to have a public library card, and I want them to understand that they can go there to get help. And so that was something that I just really wanted to make sure that our students know. So the other thing is, I found this quote that I thought was just really powerful. There aren't many truly public places left in America. Most of our shared spaces require money or a certain social status to access. One place, though, remains open to everybody. The public library requires nothing of its visitors, no purchases, no membership fees, no dress codes. And so I just found that to be really powerful, because just like you, we see a lot of students in our school. We have a huge socioeconomic divide in our school, very students with very little resources to students who drive very nicer cars than me and have a lot of resources. And so I just thought that that was really powerful. So how do we make this happen? I read a lot of really cool stories of things that people have done. And so the first thing that I'm going to recommend is that you make a connection. So just reach out. Don't be intimidated. Most public librarians feel that they have a hard time connecting with school librarians, and school librarians lack time. So sometimes another meeting sounds stressful. One of my colleagues, one of the girls that I work with here at Coeur d'Alene, said yesterday, I don't think I can handle one more thing. And I don't blame her. So I'm hoping that through this discussion and collaboration, we can find some ways to maybe lighten the load for the school librarians when possible. So, so I want to assure our school librarians that anytime you spend nurturing a relationship with a public library is going to be time well spent, and that you are going to most likely benefit from it. And while I was reaching out to my public library friends, every single one of them said the very first thing that needs to happen is we need to communicate with each other. We need to talk to each other. We need to say, this is what I need from you. And don't be afraid to say, listen, I would love it. Is there any way you could just come here and take over? And every time I've asked, they have. And so I think I'll get to that one here in a minute, but share ideas with each other. While Denise and I were talking one day, we realized that I have a pretty strong Japanese class, and the kids are really involved, and she has an amazing anime club. And so we were like, wow, why have we not collaborated on this? And so that's down, we're going to work on that next. And we have our Vikings for Diversity and Inclusion. She has kids from the middle school that participate. And so those kids will more than likely be at my school next year or the year after that. So now they're already going to have that connection with my high school and be able to come right in, and they'll know somebody, and they'll know Denise, and hopefully they'll know me, and moving to high school won't be so scary. So share ideas. You're more than likely doing something that they're doing, and they are probably going to have some great ideas on how to help you make it better. Share your goals. What is it that you want to do? I wanted my kids to come to the library at lunchtime and have something to do to take their mind. I wanted them to have a brain break. I wanted them to come to the library, not necessarily get on and play a computer game, although they can in my school during lunch, but I wanted them to have a way to take, I wanted to embrace the maker technology and the maker space atmosphere. And so Nick, another librarian from Denise's library, came, and they laid out all these makerspace things in my library, and circuits and games, and he stayed and he interacted with the kids. And I, of course, was running all around, and he stayed and he made great connections with our kids. And so we're trying to do that once a month, and just not even having to set it up, and just letting him come and do what he wants. So it's amazing. And I didn't do anything. He just brought it all in. He also brought his 3D printer one day and stayed all through the whole day. And I had some of my technology and industrial engineering classes come down and learn about it. And he just did it for me. So share what you want. That's what I want for my school. So they try to help me make that happen. Okay, this one's hard. Try to let go of micromanaging. I'm the worst, I admit it. And I want to, for one thing, I want to be involved in all this. I want to make things on the 3D printer. I want to learn how to connect circuits, but I also have to respect that I have classes that I teach, and I have projects that I'm working on, and I have individual students that need help all the time, all day long. So like I said with Nick, and especially for my elementary friends, be willing to let them come in and just take over. and you sit in the back corner. Clearly, we still are there and supervising and involved, but let them run the program. Take a break and, catch up on something and listen and learn, and let your kids interact with our public librarians, and let them make a new connection, and try to let them go to commons. We call our cafeteria commons, and let them go and make buttons for the kids. And you don't have to sit there with them. They are fine. They do it all the time, and they're pretty excited to be there. So try to let go of that and let them have some time to make those connections with everyone. Okay, so give it some time. I have found that I want all or nothing. I want my whole library to be full of people super excited the first time I run a program. And I am embarrassed if my public librarians come to my school and only 2 kids show up. To me, that makes me feel awkward and feel like I wasted their time. And they do not feel that way at all. And I'm going to let Denise jump in and take this one, because we had some really good conversations about this. Because I said, especially when I was at the elementary school and here at the high school, I was embarrassed if only 3 kids came. I felt like we have 1,400 kids here and only 3 showed up, but they're okay with that. So Denise, I'm going to let you jump in on this one if you don't mind.
Sure. So in the public libraries, our programs, especially, I focus on teens, but for all ages, can go from literally 0 attendance to 450. And we never know, if we don't have registration, we never know who's going to show up. I say if we get 2 or 3 students that are fully interested and engaged in whatever we bring, that's a win. If we get 0, don't worry about wasting our time. It is not a waste of our time. We got to come to your school. We were able to visit with you. So if we don't see any students come in, that's just the way the game is played. That is just our job. And that's normal. So many things that I've worked on, programs that I thought, oh, this will be great, they will love it. And then I get no one. And I'm sad. It's a sad day, but I just move on. We either try it again or we change it and try something different, but we don't give up. So please don't ever feel awkward or, scared that no one will come at lunchtime or, after school or whatever. It's totally fine. We're prepared for it. It's good.
Awesome. Thanks, Denise. Yeah, that was a big one for me to overcome. I just was everything, even today when we were waiting for people to join the webinar, we were saying, oh, I wonder how many people are going to come. Maybe no one. That's everyone's fear. And that's okay. We have to be able to say, okay, let's do it again. And then let's do it again. And then maybe we think, okay, so we weren't really connecting on that project. So let's try something different. And maybe talk to the kids. And if you get one of the students on board and then they start bringing their friends, then the program will grow. And so I encourage you to not try something once and then give up. I encourage you to try it and give it a little time. I say that our school is like the Titanic, and nothing changes quickly. I give everything that I do in my school a year to take hold. Sometimes more than that, sometimes 2-3 years when it's curricular changes. And so we can't expect things to take on or to take effect very quickly. So, and it's okay if it's not perfect also, just like this webinar. You got to get out there and you got to try, and you learn from your mistakes, and you see, okay, that worked really well, but you know what? I don't think this worked very well. So let's make some notes and let's try it again differently. And I encourage you to make it something so that the kids can, there's 2 things that I encourage you to do. Make it something that happens at the same time once a week or every 2 weeks or once a month, so that the kids get to know it and they expect it and they know, oh yeah, now I remember these people, that was fun. Or last time they were here, I was afraid to jump in because I didn't know anyone, but I think I will this time. So keep trying, tweak it until it works for what you want it to do, but it's okay if it's not perfect. And I think that we have to remember that from both the public and the school library side. And the other thing is, well, that's all I'm going to say for that. I had also on my note that it's okay to fail. It's okay for a program to not do okay. It's okay for you to try something and try it a couple times and it wasn't what the kids wanted, or nobody had any interest, or you couldn't make it work in the time. We have only 30-minute lunches, and we have two. So our student body is divided in half. And I know for elementary, it's staggered. And so it's okay if something doesn't work. And so it's okay to fail. You can absolutely just try something new, but don't give up. And finally, the last thing I wanted to mention is that we have to start somewhere. We have to start somewhere. You have to reach out and you have to make a call. You have to make that connection, even if all you do is send an email back and say, yes, I am interested. Let's start a shared Google Doc and throw out some ideas, and maybe over the next couple weeks. But try to make that time for each other and see where that relationship will go and see how it blossoms. So Denise, I'm going to let you jump back in again. Did I add, do you have any other thoughts on this before we open it up to some discussion?
I would just say that, like you said, just reach out to us either by email or, we would love to just come to your staff meeting for we'll talk for 3 or 5 minutes. Sometimes it's hard because we're talkers, but yeah, just 5 minutes of everyone's time to just share what we can offer, because we just want to help you. We also appreciate the fact that schools distribute our flyers and put our programs in their newsletters and announce us on their intercoms, like what we have offered, because school is these students' safe place. And when school is over, it's nice that they have another place to be where they could be comfortable and escape life. So it's nice to have them. I also just wanted to say that we do have access to a lot of grants geared for public, libraries a lot of times, and we can share those a lot of times with our schools. So we recently received a grant that had to do with mental health and teen mindfulness. And we are applying for another grant to expand on that. And what we want to do is have these mindfulness bags that we can share at the schools with the counselors for teens who may need it, with different types of things that they can bring home just to help with their stress and their anxiety and whatever they're going through. So even things like that you wouldn't necessarily think, because you think, oh, books and resources and digital, but even just, things for their life, just skills and things that we can get money for and share with you all. We're just happy to do that. It's just, yeah, it's very rewarding. So we love to partner with our schools. That is just awesome.
And so Denise made me think of one more thing. Social media. I have just in the last year started creating and trying to build my social media presence for my library. And one of the biggest things that I think we can do is share those programs back and forth. The flyers are awesome to have up. I stuck a stack out here of some of Denise's outside after school programs, and I've noticed that they're being taken, so kids are seeing them. And then I try, although I'm not as good as I should be, I try very hard to share any programs that our public libraries are doing that reach my audience on social media, so that I can share what they're doing and that our kids know what's going on outside of school. So I think that's a really important point. And yeah, so I would like to open it up now to anyone. If nobody, I'm gonna take a break, and I have a couple more things to cover, but I would also like to see if anybody has anything that they would like to add before I go on. We have about 15 more minutes, so I want to make sure that I leave some room for some discussion. Does anybody have questions or ideas or something that has worked really well for them?
I have done a couple. I've gone to the local middle school and the high school and done some presentations, and like when I was trying to start up a teen, I don't remember what they're called, but where they help decide programs and things. And it was nice because the librarians at the schools have just been like super supportive. And I've been doing these crafty bag things that I take to the schools every week, and they're always a huge hit. And I don't know, I just go and talk to them during the day as much as I can anyway.
That's awesome. That's exactly what you have to do. And it may take a year for you to really build a solid relationship with the kids. And I know in school, I have this weird dynamic where I am at the last year of where the kindergartners at my elementary school are now seniors at my high school. So it's the last time I'm going to have that super cool relationship with them. But it takes years to develop a relationship with these kids when they come in as a freshman or they come in as a kindergartner or a sixth grader, and then they learn you and they get to know you, and you create that personal connection with them. And so it's not going to happen overnight. So Sabrina, that's awesome. You're just going to have to keep going and keep working with them. And I think it's amazing. I will also tell you that when I was talking to Denise and Karen from her library, they were like, okay, we'll bring goodies to your meeting and we won't stay very long, but we'll bring snacks and we'll bring goodies. And I mean, they made me feel like they really appreciate the work that I'm doing. And I thought that was awesome.
And I forgot to say, I had been, right before the whole pandemic started in March, I'd been going almost every single week on Friday and doing like a little trivia thing because they had a special there was like a time set aside every Friday that was the last half hour of school where they do stuff. And so I had a slot and kids would sign up to do my trivia every Friday. So
Nice.
It's been a while. I just forgot about it.
That's okay. And so we're hopefully on the downward slope of our pandemic. We're getting closer anyway. And so I'm hoping that that's going to get us back into the schools and get us back into the public libraries and get us back to connecting again. Does anybody else have anything cool to share that they've done, or public librarians? Do you have questions for the school librarians on how you could better connect with them? Okay, well, I just jump into chat, and I turned my chat off because I was sharing my screen, so I'll turn it back on again. And I wanted to share one thing that I came across before we end. We have about 12 minutes left, and I wanted to share something interesting. There was a program in Muncie with Muncie Public Schools, and it ended up going starting from the librarian and the public librarian and a couple of the teachers and media specialists in the school. But they were able to collaborate, and they were able to create an amazing partnership that included the superintendent of the school, which that's my dream. And because when you have that connection with an administrator, you have so many more opportunities for bigger and larger programs and bigger connections. And so Karen from one of our libraries here said that when she was able to make a connection with one of the principals in one of our schools here in Coeur d'Alene, he recognized the benefit of summer reading programs and of helping the students read over the summer, and how the public library have programs and incentives and goodies and things that they can do to encourage our students to read over the summer. And because he recognized that, they were able to do bigger assemblies, and they were able to bring in more support and resources. And in this other school district, they were able to connect with the superintendent, who I was so interested to see had his master's in library and information science, and he went through the education ranks as a teacher librarian, and he became the superintendent, which I thought was awesome. And so, and probably why they had such a great connection with him. But so anything is possible if we start grassroots and we make those connections with our individual schools. And we are now going to try to have some of our public librarians come and speak to all of our district librarians. And I'm hoping that will open that connection. And preparing for this webinar helped me want to make that happen. So I see us chat. Can you share what you both are doing with virtual and hybrid learning in schools now? Yes, I will start, and then I'll let Denise jump in. We started the year, well, gosh, as probably a lot of you have, or maybe not, we started more open. We had to lock down a little bit and go back to a hybrid learning model. And now just this week was the beginning of our second semester. And we are now back to 4 days a week and 1 day a week for online learning for the teachers to kind of catch up on their virtual Schoology pages and things. And so our clubs are that we're doing, the one that Denise and I are working on are virtual. And I'll let her speak to this, but I know the public library is only doing virtual. And so, and that does add, you're right, Jeanette, that adds a whole different level of engagement. It's hard to engage kids virtually. And so it's definitely been a struggle, but we're starting to see some progress. So Denise, I'm gonna let you jump on because you do a lot of virtual programs.
Yeah, so we've been doing virtual pretty much this whole time. And like I said, I focused on teens. So we started a drawing club. We have a 12th grader running a cosplay club. We have anime club, of course, and our rainbow squad, which is sort of like a GSA. We do monthly trivia nights on Kahoot, which the kids really love. And we're also doing monthly cooking programs. So we get all the ingredients for them. We put it in a kit and then they pick it up at curbside since our libraries are closed right now. So anything we have, whether they be prizes or snacks or ingredients or whatever crafts, we have the kids come and pick it up curbside. We also had a sewing program. So we made Among Us plushies, and that was really fun. Interesting to teach, you know, up to 30 teens online how to sew when they've never sewed before, but it was super fun. What I really love about virtual programming that I'm seeing right now is that we are getting a different group of teens that we don't normally get in person, which I find very interesting. That being said, our in-person teens, we're not really getting them virtually, but we are reaching out to teens that we don't normally see, which is awesome. We actually have a teen who just joined some of our clubs from Arizona, and that makes me happy that we can reach teens from other states, you know, and see them that way. So I'll be sad when those clubs go to in-person only. I'm like, maybe we'll just have him like on a screen or something. But yeah, virtual has been great. It was difficult in the beginning. I was definitely not comfortable with it. It's weird, but now it's part of life. So it's gotten easier. So we do a lot virtually. For our clubs, we use, I've been using Google Meet. Our library also has Microsoft Teams. So a lot of times for the younger kids, we've been using Microsoft Teams, but I find Google Meet works best with the teens. We don't have a subscription to Zoom. And since they changed it where it can only be 40 minutes, it doesn't really fit our needs because most of our programs go up to 2 hours virtually. So we switched to Google Meet, which has been great. I haven't had any problems. Let's see, what am I missing here in the chat? Let's see here, sorry.
Mike, I'm gonna yell out to Mike, who's our amazing technology helper from Slim. And I'm getting some things that are some messages that said that the chats are not sharing with everybody. And so I'm not sure if there's a way that we can fix that. Otherwise I can copy them and I'll give you my email and I will be happy to email these all out to you. Okay.
Let's see, I see Tammy is sharing. As a public librarian, partnering with the school was during summer reading. Yes, we wrote a grant to support providing books and materials. the students who are not scoring on grade level in reading. And the school used pre and post tests, which I love. I love to see the difference that it made, to see if the program impacted literacy, and it did, yay. So yes, that is really, really cool. Thank you for sharing that, Tammy. That is a great thing.
And Carmaine shared that if you need additional strategies, you are welcome to view Teen-tober teen services in public and school libraries, which is amazing. And she gave us a link, which hopefully you can see, but if you can't, I will throw the slide back up with my email, and just reach out to me and I will make sure I've copied that link already over to my notes so that I can share that with you. So that sounds like great information, and we would love to do that. So somebody asked, what platform do you use for your clubs? So we in our school use Google Meets. Denise?
Yeah, Google Meets. And I don't know if they're going to eventually start charging. But for now, there isn't a cutoff on time, which I really appreciate, because like I said, our programs do go up to 2 hours. It's amazing that teens will hang out for 2 hours at a time with us, but I love it. It's amazing. So, and Zoom is great. And if you do have, you pay for the basic, or, where you can have more time, more people, that's great too. So.
And I will also tell you that we often will have, and Mike from Slim just said, if you are having an issue with your chat messages not being seen by everyone, make sure that the recipient is listed as everyone in the meeting in the menu next to above the text box where you type your message. So hopefully you can all see that. If you can't, I will make a copy of all these chats so that I can make sure and send them to you. But I want to say that sometimes when Denise and I have the meeting that we do together, sometimes it's hard to get the kids to actually talk. They don't want to leave, but they also don't necessarily want to talk. They also don't always want to turn their screens on. And so we have, something that I learned from the teacher who is the advisor, that is my co-advisor for this meeting. I learned that you give them lots of time. So there's a lot of silence, and that is sometimes uncomfortable for me. I want to fill it up with stuff. And so she sits and she just waits. And these kids finally open up. So Becca just asked if I would talk about the next 2 webinars. So I'm having so much fun. So I hope this was all valuable information for all of you. I had fun researching it, and I feel like it's helped my library and my practice so much by making some of these connections that I might not have made if I wasn't preparing for this. So the next webinar that we're going to do together is, I think, in 3 weeks, and we're going to learn to use Canva. So I don't know if anyone's ever used Canva, but it's an amazing tool for creating really professional looking graphic designs. I use it especially for my website and for my social media, but I also use it in any kind of communications that I do with the kids. And so we've had a lot of fun with it. And so it's free also. There is a paid version, but I always use the free version. And so you don't have to sign up. There is on maybe Becca, you could put the link for where they could find the upcoming webinars, and you can just add it to your calendar and come join us. We're looking forward to it. And then the third webinar that I'm going to do is a little bit on research skills. And that's something that I'm pretty passionate about, is making sure that our kids have access to good quality information, and that they have good information literacy skills to find information, especially right now. We want them to have some good critical thinking skills. And so I have some websites and some things that I want to talk about and share that I work with in my classrooms that would be applicable to both elementary and high school for helping students learn how to access good quality information. So the next one is on February 24th, and that's the Canva. And then we'll be doing some tips and tricks for research for school libraries. And I would love to do others. And so if you guys have other ideas for things that you would find interesting, I know that the school would love to produce any webinars for school librarians. They're looking to send information to you and help you to grow in your profession. So we are at 12 o'clock exactly. And I will stick around for a few minutes, but otherwise, if anybody has anything else to add, I'd love to hear it. And I'm going to throw my slide back up real quick so that I can share my email. All right. And thank you so much for coming. It means a lot to me. I appreciate it. It's the first one I've done. And so I'd love your feedback and to stay in touch, to add you to my professional learning network, and hopefully we can connect again. So thank you so much. Have a great day. And Denise, thank you. You are a wealth of information.
Thank you for having me. It was nice seeing everyone.
Yeah, you were amazing and you were so helpful. You added so much to the conversation.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Yeah. So thanks, everyone.